actually already filmed this video once, but I am so bad at technology that the first time I filmed it, the mic wasn't plugged in. And I'm using it attached to a plastic straw. I don't know what the best way is. If this is too distracting, let me know in the comments down below. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Alessandro, and in today's video, we are going to be doing the 2023 edition of the Mid-Year Book Freakout Tag Challenge. For those of you who do not know what the Mid-Year Book Freakout Tag Challenge is, it is basically a trend here on BookTube where creators will sit down and answer a series of 14 questions based off the books they've read so far this year, and about some questions about the books they also want to read in the latter half of the year. I've had a really good reading year so far. I've read a total of 14 books so far, some good and some not so good, and today I wanted to take some time to talk about some of my highlights. I want to give 3 disclaimers for this video, the first one being this will be completely spoiler free, so please do not worry about that. The second one being I probably won't go too in depth with all of these books just because there are a lot of questions, I have a limited amount of time, and I already tend to talk too much. And 3, again, the audio will be a little bit different for this video because I am using a mic. Please again let me know if the audio quality is good, bad, the same, or if this is too distracting, just please let me know. I'm also going to be looking down a lot because I have my notes in front of me regarding the questions for this video, and the first question is just diving right in, is what is the best book you've read so far this year? And for me, this book is really amazing and is definitely the standout book so far in the first half of this year, and that is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I listened to this book on audiobook. It was my first audiobook in a very long time, and I definitely say this is the way to do it. For those of you who do not know who Taylor Jenkins Reid is or what Daisy Jones and the Six is, I'm here to enlighten you because I was also living under a rock until very recently. I would argue this is one of TJR's most popular books, maybe followed closely after by The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. The book follows the fictional band called Daisy Jones and the Six during their rise to fame during the 1960s, the 1970s, and then also what led to their abrupt breakup in 1977. The book talks about how they came together as a band, their music creation process, the dynamics within the band and with the characters outside of the band, and much, much more. This book was absolutely phenomenal. Like I said, the audiobook is 100% the way to go with this. I think what I love so much about Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing, and I talked about a little bit about this when I reviewed Malibu Rising a few months back, is that her characters are just so full of depth, so interesting, so complex. And the relationship dynamics are really what move the book forward, I think. It was a great read. I loved how much musical language she used because I'm a musician myself, and reading about that, understanding it was really great. And I will say another testament to TJR's writing skill is that even though the book had a lot of musical language in it, it didn't bog down the story or make it disinteresting, and it didn't detract away from the book, and I think that is an absolute testament to her writing skill. The next question is, what is the best sequel I've read so far this year? And I don't know if this technically counts as a sequel because it's the 3rd book in a trilogy, but for the purposes of this video, we're going to say it counts, and that is Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee. I was so incredibly scared going into this book because I just heard from so many people that this book is crazy, emotionally damaging. It is just gonna, you're never gonna want to read anything else after this. And I will agree with that statement to some extent, but it also didn't quite deliver as much as I thought it would. Like I said, Jade Legacy is the 3rd book in the Greenbone saga by Fonda Lee. It was a really great conclusion to this trilogy. A lot of closing arcs for a lot of the characters we've been following throughout the trilogy. I can't get into this book without spoiling a ton of things. I'm not gonna do that. And we're gonna talk about the first book, Jade City, a little bit later in this video, but just know this was a very strong conclusion to a fantasy trilogy. The next question is, what is a 2023 release that has come out this year but I haven't read yet? And I'm definitely going to say Happy Place by Emily Henry for this one. If you guys have been around my channel for a little bit, you know that I'm a really big Emily Henry fan. I've read Beach Read and Book Lovers already. I have not gotten around to Happy Place yet or People We Meet on Vacation, but I definitely want to read Happy Place this year. The next question is, what is my most anticipated release for the second half of 2023? And this is a tricky question for me because honestly, most of the books that I've been looking forward to this year have already come out. So this includes The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty, Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, Happy Place by Emily Henry. The only book that's really standing out to me so far for the latter half of this year is actually the prequel novella short story collection to the Greenbone saga called Jade Shards. I believe this novella follows a number of different characters that we've seen in the Greenbone saga, some that we've gotten the perspectives from, but also some that we didn't get the perspectives from the original saga. I'm really excited to read this. I had such a good time spending time in that Greenbone saga world, and I'm really excited to return to it with this prequel novella. My biggest disappointment for this year is going to have to go to The Lost Symbol by Dan Brown, and I think it's simply because my reading tastes as a reader have changed very drastically. I used to be a really big fan of Dan Brown's writing. I still am a big fan of Dan Brown's writing, but I think for me, having not read one of his books in almost 5 years, my reading tastes have just evolved and changed so much that I don't like these kind of historically packed, information dumpy kind of thrillers. I would also say just in general, I think this is his weakest book in the Robert Langdon universe, who's the main character we follow in these books. And I would say there are other much stronger books from him, like The Da Vinci Code and Inferno. And I also thought the plot twist in The Lost Symbol was kind of predictable, which was a little bit disappointing. So for me personally, I think The Lost Symbol is still like a 3-star book. It's still good. I would still recommend you read it if you like this kind of thriller and you like Dan Brown's writing, but for me, it just didn't hit this time. Next question, what is my biggest surprise for this year? And this is definitely going to go to Jade City by Fonda Lee. I think I'm of the unpopular opinion where I think I really love this book. I feel like a lot of people I've seen talk about Jade City say it's like too much setup, it's like not action-packed enough, the later books are better. And I agree with this statement to an extent, but I also think it was a really intense book. It set up a lot of the characters really, really well. So there was that setup aspect, but there was also some great action, some great emotional plot twists, some crazy things happened in this book, and I overall really loved this. Talk a little bit more about it now because I do want to give those, this is like a big book that's dominated most of this list, most of the questions in this list. I would say that The Greenbone Saga is a Asian-inspired urban fantasy trilogy by Fonda Lee. The books are Jade City, Jade War, and Jade Legacy. And this series mainly takes place on this island called Kakan, where the two main families we follow in the book are kind of controlling the main city called Janloon. And within these families and these clans, there are people called Greenbone Warriors who use the power of jade crystals to enhance their fighting skills and mental abilities. I absolutely love this series. It took me a while to get through the trilogy as a whole. It took me about 2 months in total. I am just trying not to read books too fast this year, especially fantasy ones, so I don't miss any details. I thought this Greenbone Saga was absolutely very, very well done. I would highly recommend Jade City as like a starter book for a new fantasy reader. Complex characters, really great and intense fight scenes, a lot of complicated familial relationships and dynamics within the book as well. And overall, it was a really well done fantasy trilogy. The next question is, who is my new favorite author, whether it's like a debut author or someone that's new to me? And again, I'm going to say Taylor Jenkins Reid for this one because I absolutely am falling in love with her writing. This is a really big surprise to me because I DNF'd The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, like I think before it was even popular on TikTok. I didn't get it. I didn't like it that much. I was like, I don't get what's going on. It's just like this story about this famous actress. Like it's nothing special. But now I really want to go back and reread it because now that I've read Malibu Rising and Daisy Jones and the Six, I think I'll look at The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo in a different light. I think Taylor Jenkins Reid is a really phenomenal writer, and I've listened to a number of podcasts and interviews with her too, and I think she's eloquent, well-spoken, she clearly does her research, and I just want to read more from her now. Next question is kind of my only cop-out question for this video because it is, who is my newest fictional crush? And for this one, I'm going to say nobody. I don't crush on fictional book characters like this. I'm much more like, I crush on like actors and people I see on TV. So I think for this one is my only cop-out, so no fictional crushes for this one. Next question is my newest favorite character from any of the books I read, and this one I do definitely have an answer to. And I'm going to come back to the Greenbone Saga for this one, and I might say a potentially hot take for this one. I'm going to say the character Ait Madashi from the Greenbone Saga. In the Greenbone Saga, since it is kind of, I think, an Asian-inspired fantasy series, most of the time in the books, the characters are referred to by their family names first and their given names second. So this person, this woman's name, her family name is Ait, A-Y-T, and then her given name is Madashi. Ait Madashi is the leader of the opposing clan. So she's the leader of the Mountain Clan, where most of the book that, as you read the book, you follow the No Peak clan, the members of the No Peak clan. Madashi is the enemy clan leader, and she's definitely the main villain / antagonist for the entire trilogy. Again, maybe this is a hot take, but I think she's just one of the most interesting characters in the entire trilogy. Even though we don't really get her POV at all, I think that she is just so interesting. She's cunning, she's intelligent, she takes no BS from anybody. She's a woman leader in a clan with tons of like older male figures that want to lead and tell her what to do. Her backstory, the way she came to power, she's just like a really don't F with me character, and I think that's really, really cool to see in a fantasy trilogy. Some of the dialogue she has, some of the stories she told to the other characters in the book, some of the fight scenes she had, she was just awesome, really, really cool. I thought she was a really interesting character, and I'm really glad Fonda Lee wrote her this way. A book that made me cry, and I'm going to say an addendum like / made me emotional, I'm definitely going to give this to my reread of The Charm Offensive. This book has just come to mean so many things to me. I love the diverse cast of characters, the mental health representation, the queer romance aspect of it. The Charm Offensive is a male-male romance that takes place on the set of a reality TV show similar to that of The Bachelor or Bachelorette, and it follows two characters named Dev and Charlie in a dual POV romance, Charlie being the prince or the bachelor of the show who all the women are trying to marry, and then Dev, who is a producer. Like I said, I loved that Alison Cochrane made mental health and mental health struggles and representation the very focus of the story without detracting from the romance aspects of it. Dev and Charlie have great chemistry. There are so many many tender and sweet moments between them, so many honest moments of them advancing their relationship and growing in their relationship, not only romantically, but as friends in the beginning of the story too. I can read this book in one sitting now easily. I'm probably going to read it again before the year ends because I just love it so much. A book that made me happy, kind of on the opposite spectrum of things, but a little bit similar. I'm also going to say a romance book for this question, and I'm going to say The X-Talk by Rachel Lynn Solomon. I read The X-Talk right after I finished the Greenbone saga, and it was definitely needed at that time. I didn't want to read anything crazy intense or high stakes. I wanted something light, fluffy, fun, and The X-Talk definitely was that. The X-Talk is a workplace rivals to lovers romance comedy book by Rachel Lynn Solomon, and it follows our main character Shay Goldstein, who is a radio producer at a public radio station in Seattle. But when the radio station starts to struggle financially, she pitches a new show to her bosses to kind of try and save the station, and the show is called The X-Talk. The X-Talk basically would encompass real life exes giving relationship advice on the air. Her bosses love the idea, and they actually pair her with her workplace nemesis Dominic. Once she and Dominic start to work together, even though they don't like each other, of course, in the enemies to lovers fashion, they start to be friends, and then a romance blossoms. I really loved this book. I thought the banter was really great, especially as the story progressed. The ending was really, really cute, and overall, if you want a light and fluffy romance, I would definitely recommend this book. Next is the most beautiful book I've acquired this year. Now, truth be told, I haven't bought too many books this year. I'm trying really hard to stick to a book buying ban, although I completely failed yesterday, and I'm going to say City of Brass for this question. I bought The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty yesterday. I'm really excited to read this. I'm actually probably going to start reading this today because it's just been on my mind nonstop lately. I don't know why. My mood readingness is just such a weird place. It's such a weird thing. And the second I think about a book and want to read it, I have to go get it immediately or I just lose it. I don't know. Next question is, what are some books to read before the end of the year? And I'm going to say for this question, People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry for sure. I want to read both this book and Happy Place before the end of the year. So when Emily Henry inevitably releases her next book, I'm all caught up, and then I can read her fifth and next book. I'm also going to say Beartown by Frederick Bachman because I've tried reading this book a few times and I haven't made it very far, although I really, really want to read this book and I think it sounds really interesting and I know it's part of a trilogy. I think the writing has been really spectacular so far. I can tell there's going to be some really good life lessons and good dialogue between the characters in this book. It's more of a wintry, snowy, atmospheric book, so I'm definitely going to save it for maybe November or December. And then the next question is any book to movie / TV show adaptations that I liked. This is a hard question because the only one I've seen so far this year has been the Daisy Jones and the Six TV show adaptation, and I really disliked that. I only made it 2 episodes in. I don't know what happened in the adaptation because it felt like a different show to me. I really didn't like it. I'm not going to finish it. I'm going to listen to the album, the Aurora album that they made as part of the show, but I do not see myself continuing the show. And for those of you who do not know, I believe that 3 of Emily Henry's books, Beach Read, Book Lovers, and People We Meet on Vacation, have all been optioned for movies. So even though we probably won't get a movie in 2023, we'll probably at least get some more news about it later in the year. And I'm really excited for it because I'm a big Emily Henry fan, and you guys know if there is a adaptation, movie, TV show, whatever, for any of her books, whether it be streaming or in the movies, I will be there. So there you have it, guys. There is my second attempt at my 2023 mid-year book freakout tag challenge. Thank you guys, as always, for checking out the video. If you would be so kind as to leave a comment, like the video, and consider subscribing to my channel for more bookish content coming your way soon. Also, let me know maybe what is your favorite book that you've read so far this year, or if you have any book recs for me in general. I'm always looking for new books to read, so please let me know. My name is Alessandro, and thank you guys for checking out the video. I will see you in the next one. Bye!